Sometimes the people who seem the hardest to love are the ones quietly begging for someone who won't give up on them. And that's exactly what happened the day a billionaire's daughter, feared by every nanny, every teacher, every family friend, crossed paths with a quiet single dad who had nothing to offer except honesty, patience, and kindness. Nothing about their meeting made sense, but everything about what happened next changed all of their lives. Before we get into this emotional story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoy heartfelt, real lifestyle stories about kindness and second chances. It helps our community grow and keeps these stories coming. Welcome to your channel name. Her name was Avery Thornhill, daughter of one of the richest men in New York. She was 12, sharp-tongued, brilliant, and according to anyone who had ever tried working with her, impossible. Teachers quit. Nannies cried. Counselors refused to return calls. But behind all that trouble lived a girl who woke up every morning in a penthouse so big it echoed, yet somehow felt smaller than a closet. She'd lost her mother 2 years earlier, and grief has a way of twisting itself into behaviors no adult can read. Her father, Ethan Thornhill, tried in his own stiff, businesslike way to help, but billionaires aren't trained in band-aids and bedtime reassurance. They're trained in bottom lines, schedules, and strategy. And Avery didn't need strategy. She needed someone who would stay. Enter Daniel Ruiz, a 36-year-old single dad from New Jersey who never imagined stepping inside a billionaire's world. He lived a modest life with his 9-year-old son, Liam. Daniel worked as a part-time school behavioral aide, known for doing the job nobody else wanted, helping difficult kids find their footing. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. He wasn't armed with fancy degrees or special training. He just had a quiet way of listening and a level of patience that came from surviving life's own punches. When Ethan Thornhill requested a behavioral specialist through the agency Daniel sometimes contracted with, they sent Daniel as a last resort, not because he was the best on paper, but because they'd run out of everyone else. Daniel walked into the Thornhill penthouse wearing thrift store slacks and a button-up shirt he ironed 3 times that morning. Avery didn't even look at him. She just crossed her arms and declared, "I'm not doing this. I don't need another babysitter." Daniel didn't answer right away. Instead, he slowly sat down on the floor right in front of her and crossed his legs like he was settling in for a kid's story time. Avery blinked at him. "What are you doing?" "Giving you the choice," he replied. "You talk when you want, not when I tell you." She didn't know what to do with that. No adult had ever spoken to her that way. Not with softness, not with patience, not with permission. Avery rolled her eyes and stomped off. Daniel just smiled and stayed on the floor. By the end of the first week, Avery had thrown 3 pencils at him, locked him out of her room twice, and ignored every question he asked. Yet every single day, Daniel came back. And something about that consistency, something simple, something gentle started to crack the walls around her heart. One afternoon, Avery burst into the living room angry, tears forming but quickly wiped away. "My dad canceled again," she muttered. "We were supposed to go to the art museum." Daniel didn't offer cliches or excuses. He didn't defend her dad. He didn't try to fix it. He just said, "That hurts, doesn't it?" Avery's mouth trembled. No one had ever labeled the feeling for her. She nodded, a small shaky nod. Daniel didn't push her to talk more. He simply asked, "Want to go with me and Liam instead?" Avery froze. She had never been invited, genuinely invited to anything by an adult. "I could," she whispered. That weekend, she went with them. It wasn't a 5-star outing. No very important person entrance. No chauffeur. No reservations at places with cloth napkins. They ate hot dogs from a street cart. They shared one giant pretzel because Daniel said it was tradition. Liam made her laugh so hard she snorted, then turned bright red from embarrassment. That small, imperfect day became the first time Avery felt like she wasn't being handled. She was being included. A week later, Avery told Daniel something no one knew. "I don't hate people. I just don't know where I fit." His heart hurt hearing it. He recognized that feeling. He had lived that feeling as a kid who'd bounced between relatives after his parents passed. "You fit," he told her softly. "You just haven't found your people yet." "And you think you're my people?" she challenged. Daniel smiled. "I think you get to decide that." "But I'm not going anywhere." And she believed him. Slowly, Avery began opening up. Not perfectly, never perfectly, but genuinely. One day, while working on a school project, she admitted, "Everyone expects me to be like my dad. Tough. Impossible to impress. But that's not me." Daniel answered with the simplest kindness she'd ever heard. "Being yourself is more impressive than pretending to be anyone else." Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening behind the scenes. Ethan Thornhill began to notice the shift. Avery laughed more. She slammed fewer doors. She even asked if they could have dinner together once in a while. Ethan didn't know what magic Daniel used, but he wanted to understand it. So one evening, he asked Daniel to stay after Avery went to bed. "I don't get it," Ethan confessed. "I can negotiate billion-dollar deals, but I can't talk to my own kid." Daniel took a breath. Kids don't care about perfect words. They care that you try, and keep trying even when they push back. Ethan looked down, guilt heavy in his eyes. "I've been failing her." "No," Daniel said gently. "You've been overwhelmed. She lost her mom. You lost your wife. And grief makes people protect themselves in different ways. You both need time and kindness." Those words hit Ethan harder than any business critique ever had. Over the next few weeks, Ethan tried small things, eating breakfast with Avery, sitting in on her art time, asking about her day without rushing the conversation. She resisted at first, but then she didn't. Kindness works like water, it softens what's been hard for too long. One night, Avery handed Daniel a folded piece of paper. Inside was a drawing of 3 people, her, Daniel, and Liam. Above it she wrote, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Daniel's eyes burned. He had to look away so she wouldn't see. That drawing became the quiet symbol of everything kindness can rebuild. As months passed, Avery no longer needed Daniel as her behavioral aid. She simply wanted him as a friend, and as someone who reminded her that connection is still possible, even after loss. Ethan eventually asked Daniel how he could repay him. Daniel shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I just did what I hoped someone would do for my son if he ever got lost in his feelings." But Ethan insisted. So Daniel simply said, "Then help Avery keep growing. Be there. Show up. That's all she wants." And like that, something shifted in Ethan too. Because kindness doesn't just change the one who receives it, it transforms the one who learns to give it. Avery continued to blossom. Ethan learned to be present, not perfect. Daniel and Liam remained in their lives as extended family, proof that sometimes the most important people enter your world when everything feels like it's falling apart. And all of it, because a single dad chose patience over pressure, listening over lecturing, consistency over control. Kindness didn't solve every problem, but it made healing possible. In the end, that's the miracle of kindness. It reaches people who believe they're unreachable. It softens hearts hardened by hurt. And sometimes, it turns strangers into family. If you enjoyed this story, remember to spread kindness today, because you never know whose life you might change with one simple act.